if we're doing guns, we're doing guns. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't want to be doing guns, right? Like, it's the same thing I feel about like prison abolition, which is that like, I believe in prison abolition, but if we're doing jail, why is jail only applied to some people and not others? I don't think anybody should have a gun. That's just me. But if I have to hear over and over and over again why it's an important, right enshrined in our Constitution, and I have to hear about why it's okay for Kyle Rittenhouse to show up with like, a fucking like a massive gun to a protest, then I don't understand why Alex Preddy having a gun on him and not pulling it out isn't something that's protected in that same perspective.
Welcome back to War is Stupid, an anti-war podcast about war. I'm excited about today's episode because it both broadens the scope of War is Stupid and goes back to the roots. I started this podcast because I was tired of anti-war protesters being written off as ignorant or naive, when more often than not, they've come to the conclusion that war is stupid because they've read and studied, and even gone to the theater. Which is exciting. My guests today, Rosie Glen-Lambert and Hailey McAfee, adapted Bertolt Brecht's iconic anti-war play Mother Courage and Her Children from the battlefields of Belgium in the 30 Years' War to the present-day National Rifle Association. I saw it 2 weeks ago, and it really fucked me up in the best possible way. I'm excited to meet Hailey out of character because her character is objectively terrifying. And I wanted to learn more about the political theater legacy that it's a part of. Welcome, Hailey and Rosie.
Thank
Hi.
you. Thanks for having us.
Tell me, how did the play come to be? What's the origin story, the evolution?
Yeah. So I just randomly picked up a copy of Mother Courage and Her Children like late summer of 2024. Rosie and I had read it in college. We went to UC Santa Cruz together for undergrad. And I don't know, I just was really struck this time by the character Mother Courage and by this like frustrating and never-ending cycle of violence in that play and loss. And yeah, I reached out to Rosie and I didn't have a full idea yet. I just was like, it's modern day Mother Courage, but gun violence is the war that she's profiting off of. And Rosie's a brilliant, genius person. And we just started writing over Zoom on a shared Google Doc, and it just kind of blossomed into this crazy, unfortunately relevant story.
What was the research process like? Like, where did you guys grow up? Did you grow up doing the shooter drills? And I feel like it's such an essential part of American life, sadly.
Yeah. I mean, I am of an age, I'm going to date myself now. I mean, like, I'm a millennial.
Me too. Don't worry. This is a safe space.
So thank you. I feel like for me, I remember lockdown drills. I do not remember like explicitly active shooter drills, which is like, it's really interesting to talk to people who are like even like 4 or 5 years younger than me, because for them, it's like, it really, I feel like shifted to like the specifics of like, cause like, I think when I was doing lockdown drills, it was like, if a kid gets mad at another kid, it wasn't like someone's coming in here to like, try and shoot as many people in the school as possible. And obviously, like, lockdown drills were also scary, but it wasn't like, I feel like the weight of it didn't feel the same to me. And yeah, I mean, I think we were in college when Sandy Hook happened, which I feel like felt like a major sort of like turning point for our country in terms of mass shootings and the frequency of them. Yeah. And I mean, as far as like research for this show went, like, I mean, there's the lived experience of being an American, unfortunately, which primes you really well to know about specifically the exhaustion and frequency of mass shootings. But yeah, I mean, Hailey and I watched like a lot of videos of like communities after mass shootings, which was very hard to do. And a lot of footage of like politicians talking afterwards and spokespeople talking afterwards, and specifically them talking to communities afterwards or addressing them, which I think was for me anyway, the most like staggering thing was watching them just like be directly talking to those communities.
What did they say? Like, this is the price of freedom? The classic.
Yeah, yeah, they
Yeah. I mean,
go for it, Rosie.
well, I mean, I think like there's a big difference. And I think this was like really key for us in terms of what we wrote between the speech behind the podium to the camera versus like I'm at a town hall talking to a community that experienced a tragedy last week. And I think that, prepared speech behind the camera, even if there are like reporters asking needling questions, just feels really different than like, for example, one of the videos that we were particularly interested in was this video from after the Parkland shooting, which they sent the then spokesperson for the NRA to sit and like speak directly to that community. And that was the one that I think was like more informative for us for this piece specifically, because it was like, these people who like a week ago had lost children, parents, students, teachers. And this woman is sitting up there and managing to field their questions, to do things like to evoke her own motherhood, to be like, I'm a mother myself. And it's bizarre because it's like, I remember watching it live when it happened and finding it so sickening. And also rewatching it, I'm like, wow, this woman is like, and I say this like very uncomfortably, kind of amazing at what she does. She's so good at like, she looks right at like a student who's lost her friend and is like, I'm so proud of you for being an activist. And it's just very disarming. Yeah, Hailey, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but that was for me, like rewatching that was like,
Yeah, no, that was huge. That was huge. I think um, up until working on this play, would just shut down with this stuff and just like I wouldn't interact with it because I found it just too awful and frustrating and exhausting. And I think what was horrifying but fascinating and what really like drove me to like want to work on this play was watching that town hall and watching this person um like Rosie said, be so good at her job and so charming and so smart. And so all of these things that I was like, I wouldn't normally attach to a person like that. Is fascinating. It's horrifying. And that kind of sparked this whole thing.
Yeah, but what's that like to play? Like, how do you get in the zone? Like, in your opinion, is like the spokesperson from the NRA like a psychopath, or is that too basic?
Oh God. I think it is too basic. I think that's what I'm learning is that it's incredibly complex and I don't know what comes across watching it, but playing it, it's like I am feeling a million things. She's good at putting that mask on and smiling through the pain, but I think inside, at least inside Anna, the character I'm playing it's unfortunately not that simple. Yeah, playing her is insane, especially right now. Like you said, like even in the last week, it's changed and feeling, having to get inside of this person's brain is challenging. Yeah, it's the most uncomfortable and layered and difficult character I've ever played. And just looking out at the audience every night playing this in New York, I want to just break and be like, I know, and I'm here with you and I know, but obviously can't do that.
Yeah, have you had any like particularly memorable reactions or like lapses in theater etiquette during the run, like hecklers?
I don't think we've had any
Okay, good. I'm glad New Yorkers know their theater etiquette.
but like there's still 2 weeks.
There's still
You know,
time.
yeah, there's still time. I mean, there is a part of the play where in theory, if somebody joined in, it would be fine. I mean, I think within reason, because Hailey's a person doing the show, it's like, I mean, I think like we've heard people, I have heard people go, oh my God. Like I've heard people like have like vocalizations that are loud enough that I'm like, oh, Hailey heard that.
Yeah.
Which is good, I think. And I mean, I'd much rather hear somebody go, "Oh my God," than have them sit in silence. Although silence is valid too. I understand that it's like people go through different emotions watching this. But yeah, I mean, I think we haven't so far had anybody like throw paint at Hailey, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But
But it's so interesting, as you mentioned, how things have changed in the past week. The NRA is, unfortunately back in the news, or if it's never not in the news, because of the killing of Alex Preddy, a lawful gun owner in Minnesota, and the president said that, okay, he deserved to be executed in the street because he had a gun on him, and now the NRA is publicly challenging the president. So we're in a part where, like, okay, the NRA is part of the Popular Front. So what did you learn about them now that, like, now that it sounds like they might be allies? It's such a bonkers time.
Yeah, it's a head fuck because I would not. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm never going to call the NRA an ally
Yeah.
personally. That's just where I land. I think I think the important point in terms of this most recent event is if we're doing guns, we're doing guns. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't want to be doing guns, right? Like, it's the same thing I feel about like prison abolition, which is that like, I believe in prison abolition, but if we're doing jail, why is jail only applied to some people and not others, you know? And that's kind of how I feel about guns, which is like, I don't think anybody should have a gun. That's just me. I think that nobody should. But if I have to hear over and over and over again why it's an important, right enshrined in our Constitution, and I have to hear about why it's okay for Kyle Rittenhouse to show up with like, a fucking like a massive gun to a protest, then I don't understand why Alex Preddy having a gun on him and not pulling it out isn't something that's protected in that same perspective. And I mean, it's like one thing where I'm like, yeah, the NRA is correct because they should be saying that, they should be protecting everyone's right, I suppose, and also fuck the NRA.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Hailey, but that's my response.
No, we're on the same page.
I don't know why I was like, I don't know how Hailey feels. I do.
Yeah, there's such a bonkers moment because also I think it's next week is the Super Bowl, and the fact that like now liberals have the NRA and the NFL booking Bad Bunny and Green Day, like it's like we have football and the gun lobby in the national divorce. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, and if you don't want to. If you're not a football person, we have a show at 3 p.m. on the Super Bowl. So if you want a fucking full collision, there you go.
Yes. Yeah. And it's only one act, so you might be home in time for the Puppy Bowl, which I think runs right before.
And I haven't heard any controversy around the Puppy Bowl so far, but
Yeah, fewer concussions. Hopefully. I hope they treat the dogs better than NFL players treat their bodies.
I think more naps, probably.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know.
But let's go further back in time. I'd love to hear more about Brecht. Who was he? What were his politics?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so Brecht was a very cool German playwright. He wrote Mother Courage in response to World War II and what he was seeing going on. He very cleverly placed Mother Courage in the 17th century during the 30 Years' War, which is a very smart thing. Put it somewhere else so that the audience doesn't feel like defensive or attacked. But yeah, he ended up leaving Germany. Actually, Rosie, did you know that he lived in Santa Monica?
I did know that. Hailey still lives in Venice. I lived in Venice until I moved to Brooklyn. Yeah, we almost missed, just by a few years, we were living in the same place Brecht was.
I can't picture him on the beach, like going from Berlin to the beach.
Yeah. It's like very difficult. I know. It's like, I feel like he should always have like a warm coat and like a mug and a cigar.
Brooding German expressionist. Yeah, and then meanwhile people are rollerblading.
Yeah. He's so cool. Yeah, so Brecht kind of developed his own theory, his own style of theater. So like you sometimes will hear people talk about a show and say that it was very Brechtian. And Brecht's thing was, the audience should always be aware that they are watching a play and that there is a message and that they need to keep their ears and their eyes open for that. So he had some tricks to do that. One that I think is very funny, I don't know why, he would, before a scene, he would tell you basically what was going to happen in that scene. So someone would come out with like a sign and it would say like scene 2, the scene where Swiss cheese gets shot by the whatever. So then the audience is like, what the fuck? And then you're watching knowing what's going to happen. So you kind of don't have this emotional response. You have more of like you're getting your brain activated. Yeah. A big, heavy emotional moments would be followed by like a hysterical line. So he's like kind of getting you to switch your emotions. He was a really remarkable playwright who, it makes sense that we're still producing his plays today.
What were his politics? Like, what did he want people to take away from his plays?
I mean, anti-fascist for sure. Like, I mean, I feel like I would say that I would say that anti-fascism feels like the most like important one to talk about, just because, again, like as Hailey said, like, I mean, he witnessed like the rise of the Third Reich and like was, one of those people. And it's like, this feels like obviously like so prescient to talk about right now, who is like looking at the thing happening in real time and trying to like drag people's chins to look at it and be like, we are becoming, this dangerous, like we're about to cross this threshold and there's going to be a point of no return. And I mean, I think, yeah, I think like as far as like theater goes, like, I mean, to me, I think theater is always political, but some people, for a lot of times, politics plays in the background. And I think for him, it was really at the front. And it was, like, I mean, like an explicit goal and frustration and like point of forward motion.
This is a sidebar, but I just realized that Friends is Brechtian and that every episode it's like, okay, the one where Chandler doesn't like dogs. Like, is that a
You heard it
Brechtian
here
device?
first.
Yeah.
The other thing that like is maybe worth noting in terms of like parallels between Brecht's writing process and our writing process, which I didn't even quite clock this until recently. I was thinking about it. Brecht wrote Mother Courage, I think in like a month. Like it was like one of those things where it's like he was just like, it just like kind of like fell out of him. Something that I didn't really clock as a parallel, but that is like true, is that Hailey and I wrote this play, like we say in like 9 months, but actually it was like there was like a big gap in there, but it kind of just happened very quickly. And like when I think about like, I have a lot of friends who are playwrights who will like work on their plays for a very long time, which is understandable. But I think that with this play, similarly to I think how Brecht felt, I think Hailey and I were like, there's another thing with theater where it's like plays get workshopped to death. It's like, I'm doing this workshop, I'm doing that workshop, I'm like pitching it to this theater, I'm pitching it to that theater. And Hailey and I were just like, we just need to do this like right now. We need to like finish it and then we need to put it up. And, I especially was like, I can't stand anybody's notes and it's not because I don't want to hear them. It's because I want to hear them after you see it. Like, I can't wait to put this up so that you can tell me, like, let me know what you didn't like about it after the show, because it needs to happen now.
Yeah, that sense of urgency is impressive. And so between the multiple runs, has it changed? Like, have you gotten notes that change the direction?
Say, I don't think the script has really changed much, but I absolutely feel that my performance has evolved. I think just hearing what an audience is reacting to and what they're, when they're sitting forward and when they're kind of crossing their arms, that obviously, like, I'm aware of that. And yeah, I think also doing a mostly solo show, it takes time, but you learn kind of how to control the pace. And I can feel when the audience needs like a moment to sit and feel something, when they need me to launch into the next thing. And that's taken some runs to kind of get a hold of. But I would say, Rosie, I don't know what you think, but I don't think the script has really changed.
We changed like a couple dates, just because like when we first wrote it, we wanted something to be like that year, and now it's been a year. But besides that, like little tweaks, things that are like probably pretty not very noticeable. We did, however, the design changed a bit, both because we worked with our designers are amazing. Our scenic designer, lighting designer, and costume and wig designer have been with us since the beginning. We didn't have a scenic designer the first time because it was sort of just like a black box, empty space. And then this version of it has a little bit more anchoring. We've got that curtain that's sort of supposed to evoke a feeling of like a blue curtain you really only see in like an elementary school or a middle school or like a faith center. Obviously the American flag, which in conjunction with that curtain feels like, I think people are just like, oh yeah, of course. But a thoughtful choice. And then, like the chair was like kind of like a tan color and now it's white, which like sounds so minimal, but like even just that feels like a little bit shinier and a little bit more press conferencey. Yeah, and then like all of our designers have like had the chance to develop some of their designs since our first run, which I think has been very exciting.
I mention a lot on here that I'm a Canadian who has only ever lived in Canada or New York City, so I often don't feel like I understand this country at all. So throughout this process and the research, what have you learned about America and American culture and society, especially you, Hailey, by inhabiting this role?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is by design, but I think the powers that be want us to feel very us versus them, split us in the middle, and this group of people hate this group of people, and we're so different, and we have, it's black and white. And I think doing this and talking to people after the show has revealed that that's absolutely not the case, and that, you know, we all have like so many complex feelings about things that we maybe disagree on wholeheartedly. I think it's a trap to fall into the us versus them thing. And I think what the number one thing that I'm hearing from audiences is they'll say to my face, like, I hated her, but I understand her a little bit better. Some people are like, I loved her. I really, really liked her. And I'm feeling very confused about that. And I need to go home and think about that. I think it's making people and it's making me realize that it's not that simple, and that I think it's kind of cliche, but I think we do have a lot more in common than we think. And I think that is where we need to meet each other. So it's been a real eye opener for me.
Yeah, well, and the us versus themification, like it's such an op. Like who is being served by that? If we're hating each other, then we're not hating Jeff Bezos or
Right.
or Spectrum Internet that thwarted our recording the first time.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so fascinated by like Republican women. Like right now we're living in like the golden age of Mar-a-Lago face. And like who in the current zeitgeist, current administration do you see as like the closest things to Mother Courage? Or could you see yourself writing a play about next? Like what would a Christy Nome play be?
I mean, hard to watch.
Yeah. And she might do it herself. It sounds like she might be out of her job and be looking for a job. So it might be her one woman show.
My God, if I have to go to her like one person clown show, I think that will be the end. Yeah, I mean, like, I think we pulled a lot of inspiration from a lot of different people, like a lot of different women, and you're absolutely right. Like, I think it is this odd, like, this is like a sort of like half-baked thought that I'm having right now, but it's like there's almost like because we had this like sort of like feminist revolution of the last 10 years, like watching that be like co-opted to be like, you can stay home, like and then of course, like those people not actually staying home themselves because they're saying it from a podium.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like definitely Christy Nome. I mean, Erica Kirk,
Yeah.
Karoline Leavitt. I mean, a big inspiration for us in this show was Dana Lausch, who was the former spokesperson of the NRA. But then in like a different way, like this is like very different, but I'm like, I look at Melania, right? Because I'm like, if you want to talk about like a survivor, right? And I say that like on edge, but like please hold. But it's like, like somebody who's like, how do I profit so that I can stay alive at the expense of everything else? Like that's Melania to me. I think there's sort of countless, women and that you can look at for inspiration. And we have like an entire Pinterest board of like their makeup and their clothing and, their particular way of talking. And yeah, and again, like this like odd thing of we watched this video early on of one of these women who I will not name because I don't want to don't come for me, but like talking about like her book and writing her book. And it's this video of her like standing in a bookstore because her book just got published. And she's just like, I am so excited. Like, I am just like, I'm just at the end of the day, like, I'm one of those like nerdy girls who like to like sniff books. And it's like, and I'm just like, that feels like a person I know. But that
Yeah.
you on Fox News, I'm like,
And then, like, what's in the book? Like, it could be the most hateful shit you've ever seen, but they're
it
like, "Oh my
is.
god, yay!"
It is. But she's like, like everyone thought I wanted to do this for a living, but like honestly, I just like wanted to write a book. And I'm like, it's that where I'm like, like I feel like you're my friend being kind of embarrassing but wholesome on Instagram, but
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah, Hailey, what about you? Like, who else did you look at?
I'm like sort of like obsessed with Karoline Leavitt. So that's like the physical, that's like the look. My sister Mallory is our costume, hair, and makeup designer, and she pulled a lot from Karoline Leavitt. So like, yeah. But it is a true like character study watching her stand up there and have to defend some of these things that Donald Trump has done and said. And I could, it's horrifying, but I could watch her talk for 100 hours. Like, she is so trying to keep the lid on and trying to focus. And also, it's like you can see her remember like to be charming. So she'll try to crack a joke, does not work, fails. And then like, it's truly like now that I've played this character for a while, I'm fascinated with like watching for the little slips and the little cracks and then like having to then get it back together and get on track is fascinating. So yeah, I guess my answer would be Caroline.
Yeah, do you think they know that what they're saying is insane, but they have to defend it at all costs, or they truly occupy a separate reality?
I feel like it's this is maybe a cop out, but I do feel like it's a little of both. Like sometimes I watch Caroline Leavitt and I think she does truly believe what she's saying and what she's defending. And then I'll see her really have to struggle to defend. Like when the first thing that comes to my mind is when someone asked about when Trump called that reporter Piggy, Quiet Piggy,
No.
and watching her try to spin that and say, well, the thing that we all love about President Trump is how transparent and just honest he is. I was like, what? And I could see it in her eyes that she is like, God damn it, fuck him for making me stand up here and have to defend that. But then other times I'll watch her and I'm like, no, she truly, truly is living in a world where she thinks that that is okay and normal. It's fascinating.
Yeah, and even, yeah, charming and adorable.
Yeah, it's so fucked.
So what's the process like getting into character and then getting out of character? Because I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? Because living in this is so hard.
Yeah, I mean, getting into character and out, it really is the physical appearance. I feel like I'm like, my sister is here with me and she's the one putting the wig on and we're kind of joking and laughing up until I'm fully there and then she goes away and I'm not a method actor, so I can kind of like be chill and be okay until I would say like 5 minutes before the show starts. I get really quiet and have to just like kind of do my breathing thing and getting out of it. Same thing. I'm cool. I'm okay once I take everything off and like feel like myself again. I will say this past week was really tough. Our last like 3 shows, I had maybe a harder time coming out of it just because I felt like I couldn't escape anything. Like I'm scrolling on TikTok and seeing everything happening in Minneapolis and like the murder of Alex Preddy, like, and then having to like get into that character and then get out and I would go back on TikTok and luckily Rosie is here as well and like we went out and hung out at a little bar afterwards and that kind of helps to just like shake it off and just be with friends.
Yeah, I'm yeah, making myself log off. It's impossible. I guess, yeah, theater, that's at least 80 minutes when you're not looking at your phone.
True, yes.
For the audience too, like it's good to channel the rage into something specific instead of just like the wide, all-consuming existential dread.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, since you guys are theater people, yeah, what else were your inspirations, or what kind of roles would you love to play, or love to direct, or love to adapt?
I mean, I will say like it's funny because Hailey and I have been working together since college and we've done like all sorts of different kinds of projects together.
Ooh, like what? Like I love the yeah the origin story.
Well, origin story, I think the first show we were in was a play called Vinegar Tom by Carol Churchill. Is that right, Haley? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So that was like when we were, when I was like 19 or something.
And we're like, no one understands it better than us. And even
Yeah.
though I'm a teenager.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, not like last week when I was 19.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were in a couple shows together in college. We were in that one. We did a show called Almost Maine, which you're legally obligated to do,
I
at least once.
It's in all the like monologue books for teens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure is. And then after we graduated, Haley's a year ahead of me, but we did a show with my theater company that our friend Veronica wrote that we've done a lot of shows that Veronica's written. So we did that show and then a couple more with our company, a lot of shows that like our company, like either someone wrote or like devised. But then it was interesting because timelines are confusing. I want to say like 3 years ago, Haley found this script called Iphigenia and Splot by Gary Owen, which is an amazing one character play that is an adaptation of the Iphigenia myth. And Haley was like, I want to do it. Do you want to direct it? And I was like, I mean, literally always.
Ooh, what is it?
And
I only really know Hadestown and Hercules.
yeah, I mean, so and I would say that like the play is like not really like, I mean, Haley, do you want to like, cause I feel like it is not an adaptation in the sense it's similar to this play, actually. I think we were very inspired by it, where it's like, you don't have to know, the myth to enjoy it. But do you want to take this, Haley?
Yeah. Okay, so in mythology, Iphigenia is the eldest daughter of King Agamemnon. And so when the Trojan War starts and Helen gets kidnapped or goes, whatever you believe, Agamemnon's army sails across the sea to go to Troy to fight in the war. At some point, the wind stops blowing because he's an idiot and he killed a sacred deer. And so he has to make a sacrifice in order to get the wind blowing, or they're just like dead in the water. So he tricks his daughter Iphigenia into coming out under the guise of a wedding. She gets to marry Achilles. And then when she shows up, she is instead sacrificed. And then the wind blows, they're able to go, and then the Trojan War happens. And I always felt like justice for Iphigenia, she's like a blip in the story, and then like she's forgotten. And I always was like, that's so fucked up. She's like tricked by her own father. Like, that's horrible. But it's like the whole myth is like, the sacrifice of one for the many. So Iphigenia in Splot is modern day. It takes place in Wales, in Cardiff, and it's about the same thing. It's this incredible woman named Effie, who is Iphigenia, who is sacrificed or makes a sacrifice for this society that kind of treats her like trash. And so he's kind of asking, like, who are the modern day Iphigenias? Who are we sacrificing for the greater good? It's about like gentrification and class disparity, and it's gorgeous. And I would say it definitely influenced us writing this.
And respectfully, that's why I wanted her to summarize it. She's way better at that than me. But I feel like that play is so, I mean, Haley was incredible in that show. And it was like, I mean, we did that a couple times in LA and people were like really excited by it. And I think we, wanted to find something that was like ours, because obviously that's a play that somebody else wrote and that was performed elsewhere. It was at Edinburgh years ago. So I think like we were like, how do we find something that feels like ours that we can like Haley can just like do? But it's funny because it's like I would call myself a little anti-solo show, if I'm honest. Like, not, that's a little harsh, but like I'm a little like, there are solo shows that I have enjoyed, but often I find solo shows to be a little hard to watch. And I'm often like, why is this a one character play? Like, why didn't you write this to be a play? And something I said to Haley early on as we were writing this was that I was like, I think we need to do an exercise where we talk about what this would be like with other people, because I want to be like 1,000% sure that this needs to be a one character play before we do it and write it that way. Because if it doesn't need to be, then it's like, then it's just us making a solo show, which doesn't feel as important as like really deciding that this matters as like, and I think ultimately what we found is that one person standing up there mostly alone having to defend themselves is like artistically satiating and fuels the story in an important way.
Yeah, absolutely. And right, I won't spoil anything, but the fact that you only see her there alone, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And so what's next? Like do you guys want to take it to Scotland? I think it would be amazing. Yeah.
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 Yeah. or I, as they say in Scotland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we are super interested in taking it, not this summer because we've sort of missed the window of prep time, but perhaps summer of 2027 to Edinburgh, because I think we both have talked about how interesting we feel this would be for an audience outside of the United States. So I think there's just, yeah, we're interested in doing that.
Yeah. And then I think in terms of like, we really want to bring this to other areas of the US. Like we said, we started this in LA. We did 2 runs of it in LA, like a full run and then like a limited run that we did as a benefit performance this past November. And now we're doing it in New York. And that's very coastal. And I'm so glad we got those opportunities. But it feels like important to see how this show lands for someone in the middle of the country, in the South, in the North. Like we just like want to bring this to other parts of the country and be in dialogue. And like I think the other thing about this show that is hard is that it's like, and people have we've gotten a lot of reviews that have said this as a compliment, but that like we're not really like screaming a moral at you. We're kind of presenting a problem to you. And our hope, I think, is that the more places that we do it and the more people we bring it to, the more reinvigorated we feel. Because again, there's this fatigue of like, there's a shooting every day sometimes too, right? And that makes people sort of, it normalizes something that shouldn't be normalized, which I know is obviously something that you think about a lot, given what your podcast is.
Yeah.
And your body does a thing on purpose to protect itself, right? Where it's like it teaches itself how to endure trauma, because if you're like panicking about it all the time, you're just going to fall apart. And I think we have a national problem where we've all kind of done that, right? We open our phone, we see that there was a mass shooting, and then we make breakfast, and then we go to our jobs, and then we blah, 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 right? And I understand that like that way that we protect ourselves is important. And also I do think it's important to access your rage. Like I do
Yeah.
think it's it's like essential to reconnect. I don't know. This is like, I'm Jewish, so maybe this is like very Jewish of me, but I'm like, reconnect to your panic. Like be worried.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I think, I guess it's a weird thing to be like, I hope my play makes you worry, but I kind of do.
Or no, like people need to be shaken out of their complacency. Like that's why the last week has been bonkers. Like, okay, like we're all used to violence in the Middle East, but now it's violence in the Midwest, which is just like, and I'm scared that, yeah, people will get comfortable ignoring it.
Yeah. And we shouldn't be used to violence anywhere. And it's like, what can you do every single day to shake yourself into outrage? Because outrage, I think that there are people who love to make outrage like a liberal problem. Like it's so stupid that you're outraged all the time. And I'm like, outrage is a superpower. You should be outraged. Yeah, I am very like, how can we be more outraged? How can we access our outrage? How do we retain it? How do we bring it into our day and then make it actionable?
And make it about the right things. Like it's funny that like outrage has like a reputation for being like a liberal thing when conservatives are outraged about the Green M. Like
Or Obama's tan suit. Like, do you remember that?
like if you're like like you should be outraged about people getting shot. Like
Yeah.
that's way spicier than the Green M&M losing her go-go boots.
Yeah, what did she do? She lost her go-go boots and then therefore what?
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, they're like the woke mob is desexualizing the Green M. Like if the Green M doesn't make me horny anymore, like this isn't the America I know.
Level, like sex positive. If the Green M wants to be sexy, she should be.
Yeah,
But
it's her choice. Yeah. Oh man. And thank you so much, guys. So where can people find you and your work?
well, you can follow us on on social media. I think that is one of the best ways to follow us, which is it's the Attic Collective _LA. You can also follow us if you search Attic Collective. We have a website, but social media is honestly in certain ways stronger. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And then, like personally, you can request me on Instagram. I'm private. And Hailey, what about you?
I'm public.
Ooh, yeah. I guess that's the difference between the director and the actor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, a few years ago, I went viral for yelling at a man who sexually harassed me. So that's the actual reason. But
Oh my God, wow. Good for you. Or like, I'm sorry that you were harassed, but like, good for you for, standing up for
yeah,
it. Oy.
But yeah, no, you can follow our work. We don't, we don't have like a specific, I mean, this show was definitely like our next steps is us putting the show in front of more people. So either the Attic Collective LA on Instagram or Facebook or on our website is a good way to find out when we'll be doing that again. And then in terms of future projects, even I will be surprised. What will we do together, Hailey? It's a mystery.
I'm liking
I
this
think a
idea of this
character
Christy
study.
Gnome play.
Yeah. I was about to say Christy Nome as like a companion or a character study about the journey of the Green M&M.
Absolutely. Hailey would make a great Green M&M.
Thank
Just
you.
keep diving into the culture wars.
It might be too divisive. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, I can handle the NRA, but you lost me at the Green M&M.
Not chocolate. No.
Thank you so much, guys.